Hi, my name is Kari and I'm the product architect here at FieldSync. What I'd like to go over with you in this video is the difference between logs and tasks in the FieldSync solution. Now, in both the logs and the tasks module, you have the ability to go in and create customized forms for data collection. Now, whether that's a timesheet, whether it's an inspection log, whether it's a shift log, or any other kind of data collection, you can go into the solution and build that form so that it shows up for your users on either the web application or in the mobile application for data collection. That being said, what this video will cover is the differences between logs and tasks that will hopefully help you determine when you're creating these forms whether to set them up as a log or set them up as a task. So let's start by talking about logs. Within our logs module, the way that you create the log forms is to go into the settings and set up different log types. So you can think of each log type basically as a form. Now, visibility to each of those forms is controlled at the user role level. So you can say for each log type which types of roles you want to have access to that form. And then any user who has any of those roles applied to their user account will be able to go in and create and view logs of that type. One attribute of logs is that they're typically for those forms that may or may not be scheduled and are used more on an ad hoc basis. So let's say, for example, that you are a company that does home inspections. You may have a home inspection form that is used by all of your inspectors every time that they do a home inspection. Now, you may not know exactly when those home inspections are going to be. They don't have a consistency such as every Wednesday or every single day. So that would be a good example of where you might want to create it as a log so that it can be accessed and filled out at any time and not necessarily displayed every single day. Another difference is that logs can be applied to all customers. If you have access to a log type based on your user role, then you can create a log type and apply it to any of your customers. And for that reason, reporting is really simple within logs. So let's say, for example, that you've set up FieldSync to track the various locations that you have within your business. And for that reason, you've set up each of your locations as a customer. One location might be the warehouse, and one location might be the production facility. Now, both of these facilities or customers are going to utilize a timesheet. Now, for consistency, both the employees at the warehouse and at the production facility are going to use the same time card form so that to track the time that they work. So you can create a log type for that form, and it can be made available to the users to apply it to the warehousing facility or to the production facility. And then when you go into reports, you can filter the reports by the time card log type and quickly be able to bring up all of the time cards that are created from all of your facilities throughout a specific date range and have all of that data at the click of a button, and then you can go ahead and export it to Excel and do additional formatting or do whatever you need to do to process your payroll. So again, logs are really great for those forms that are going to be used by most people. They can be applied to any customer, whether you've set up your customer to be an actual client of yours or an employee or a location. Again, these are typically going to be those forms that are not necessarily scheduled or occurring on a regular basis. On the other side, we have tasks. Now, the visibility to tasks in data entry is controlled at the user level. So rather than applying the visibility at the user role level, you are able to control down to a specific user who can see the task and the data associated with it. Secondly, tasks can be scheduled. So when you create a new task, you can set it up to be displayed on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and you can indicate the days of the week, or on a monthly basis, and you can indicate the day of the month. Now, you do have availability to do data entry on tasks that aren't scheduled as well. So in that way, it is still the same as a log. But the big difference is in the data entry module, if you have a task that is scheduled, let's say that you have a manager's report that you want all of your managers to fill out every single Monday. Now, if you set this form up as a task and you schedule it to occur every Monday, then in the data entry module, all of your manager users will see that task scheduled and have visibility to the fact that they need to complete the form. Furthermore, if they do not complete the form, you will be able to have visibility to that on your dashboard, and it will show all of the incomplete forms based on the schedule of those tasks. So hopefully that helps you to kind of see the difference between logs and tasks with regards to scheduled and unscheduled. Also, each individual task is associated with only one customer. So you can get very, very specific when setting up your tasks, and you can have a separate form for each of your customers. Now, in some cases, this is the ideal scenario. Let's say, for example, that you are a counselor. You may have a whole set of template tasks that you've created. So maybe one for counseling those with alcohol abuse, maybe one for counseling those that are going through a divorce. But so you may make a copy of that form and apply it to an individual, but you're likely going to go in and make modifications to that form to customize it specific to that individual. So that way you may have a divorce counseling task for an individual that looks just a little bit different than a divorce counseling task for another individual. And because it is assigned to a specific customer, that's also how we can control the visibility a little bit better as well. Now, because each task is tied to a specific customer, that means that in the reporting, you do have to go through and run the reports for each single customer. So if you think back to my example of the company that has a warehouse location and a production location, if the time card were set up as a task, you'd have one form for each location, and then at the end of the month, you would need to run the report for the warehousing facility, and you would need to run the report for the production facility. So those would be two separate reports that you may or may not need to merge, but that's just a good example of how those two things differ. So let's talk a little bit more about the visibility rights, because visibility and reporting are really the big differentiators between logs and tasks. Now with logs, the visibility, as I mentioned, is based on the user role. So let's take this example here where I've created a new log type called incident report, but you can see here that I've assigned supervisor, manager, and mobile roles to have access to this form. So that means when I come over here and look at my user, so I have a Kari Herzog user here who has been assigned a staff and a mobile role. Well, because of this mobile role, I have access to the incident report form, and I can create that form within FieldSync on both the mobile and the web application. So that being said, the user role is really what drives the visibility of a specific log type to the user. Now, when looking at the visibility for tasks, it's a little bit more complicated. As I mentioned, there is only one customer assigned per task. So here I've assigned Dixie Doe, and there's also an attribute for each task called service. Now, service allows you to categorize all of your forms and help further set the visibility to those forms. So that being said, the visibility for each task is really controlled by which customer it's associated with and which service it falls under. Now when I go into my user management, so these are two screens that come out of my user management for, again, my user Kari Herzog, you can see here that I'm able to assign services, and I have assigned the service of field tasks to this user. So same as on this time card task. So that is granting me access to see any tasks that fall underneath this field tasks service. Now I also have the ability to assign customers to my users. So here you can see that I've assigned all of my customers to this user because I don't have the type of business model where I need to hide information from any of my users. So you can see that Dixie's name is here. So that being said, with those two things combined, when this user, Kari Herzog, logs into FieldSync, she will have the ability to go in and do data collection on the time card form because she is assigned to Dixie and she is assigned to the field tasks service. So as you can see with tasks, you can really lock down the information so that only individuals that you really want to see the data will have visibility to that data. So in summary, what you really want to think about when looking at a form and trying to decide if it should be set up as a task or as a log is you need to weigh the importance of visibility of the data against reporting. Now for those where visibility is really, really important and you do not want different users seeing data entered by other users, then tasks is likely the way to go. If easy reporting and having all of the data together and available by managers to see everything in one place, then you're more likely going to want to set that form up as a log. Now I hope that this video has helped you to understand the difference between the tasks and the logs In both cases, you can collect the data that you want to collect and can go in and add the configurable fields that you want to add. And if you have any questions about whether or not a specific form should be created as a task or as a log, or any other questions about setting up your FieldSync environment, please to get in contact with one of our client support specialists because they'll be able to walk you through that process. Thank you.